Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed about Apple Intelligence being delayed. Now we have to wait for a smarter Siri. Daylight savings time took me an entire week to recover from, and the worst one of all, I'm missing Marketecture Live. I'm Kate with Marketecture, and this is The Refresh, your weekly download on what went down in advertising. Today is Monday, March 17th, and on this week's episode, we're talking about Scope 3's big announcements, Meta rolling out their Community Notes feature, Publicis winning from the Coca-Cola business, and finally, we'll do a quick update on where things stand with TikTok. So let's get into it. Scope 3 dropped 2 big product announcements at their inaugural Landscape conference last week. The first was brand standards, an improvement upon brand safety and suitability, and the second was an agentic advertising platform. If you've been following CEO Brian O'Kelly on LinkedIn the past couple of months, neither of these announcements should come as a surprise, least of which the agentic advertising platform. Scope 3 is looking to custom large language models which have the ability to reason, and AI agents which have the ability to operate autonomously to fuel their next act. Some have pushed back on these announcements, saying more AI equals more compute equals more carbon emissions. On the flip side, AI systems are becoming more efficient to run, and if you pair that with a more efficient supply chain, we could come out on top. With brand standards, Scope 3 is essentially training large language models like Claude and Gemini on their clients' data to create a customized output. These algorithms can be trained based on a brand's needs, their audiences, business objectives, historical campaign performance, and their own unique brand safety and suitability standards. While brand safety and suitability is of course a desired outcome, performance is too. One of the benefits of large language models is that they're essentially in an ongoing learning process, using new inputs to make more informed decisions. This ideally creates a more relevant ad experience that reduces the number of touchpoints needed before a consumer takes a desired action. Alongside this, Scope 3 continues to steer towards reducing carbon emissions by removing inefficiencies or undesirable inventory from the supply chain before a bid request is ever even submitted. Alright, let's talk about this agentic advertising platform. It's not scheduled for release until later in Q2, but it would allow those within the media ecosystem to build, create, and even sell their own AI agents. These agents can be set up to complete tasks across the campaign lifecycle: audience analysis, competitive research, media execution, ad checking, and data science tasks like performance measurement and analysis. I actually had a really hard time sorting through all the press surrounding these announcements. A lot of the terminology was being interchanged, and what was being referred to as agentic was actually just a custom bidding algorithm built on the back of an LLM. While these systems have a lot in common and they're intertwined, they are not the same thing. When we talk about AI agents, we're talking about something that's able to be assigned an end goal, and then it will navigate itself to that goal. It's learning and reasoning and establishing the steps it needs to take, as well as communicating with other agents or you to complete the task that it's been given. It's also able to remember, store, analyze, and retrieve previous information. As more AI products are released, it's important for us to understand what you mean when you're saying AI. Are you talking about a machine learning algorithm, a custom bidding algorithm built on an LLM, or a true AI agent? Because those things are different. So, will AI agents impact our job roles as advertisers and marketers? As more AI agents enter the market, it's very realistic to expect that our traditional entry-level media roles will be eliminated. Media associates and operations specialists could find themselves managing teams of AI agents, serving as a human input and checkpoint that's still needed. Right now, AI agents are being presented to us as a standalone product, but eventually they'll just be a feature or a function within a larger workflow. In order to maximize AI's value to our organizations, we need to start taking a systems-based approach to how we think about it. Generative AI in its current form is imperfect, it's resource-intensive, and technically complex, but someone has to start making moves towards implementing it into our media processes to ultimately transform the system. Brian O'Kelly and team seem to be taking a really solid first step towards this. Alright, let's talk about Meta's Community Notes. It'll be rolled out as a beta, and the Meta will launch it nationally once they're confident that it's performing as it should. Community Notes will initially launch using X's open source algorithms as its rating spaces. However, Mark Zuckerberg has said that they may diverge from these algorithms and adjust them on an as-needed basis. So, how does it work? Pre-selected contributors that have met Meta's qualifications will be able to submit additional context to various social posts across Meta's platforms. They also have to submit a URL, I'm assuming from a trustworthy source, that backs up what they're saying in their note. Notes are then rated by other contributors. But just because contributors are rating other people's notes doesn't mean that it's going to be majority rules. Meta clarified by saying no matter how many contributors agree on a note, it won't be published unless people who normally disagree decide that it provides enough helpful context. Humans are inherently flawed and biased, but so are algorithms, and that's going to filter into any system that's in place. Having a system that allows for additional context from people with opposing values and views seems like a good idea in theory. I do worry about the efficacy of this system. Anecdotally, I haven't seen any community notes on X, and researchers found that 74% of accurate notes were never shown to users. That seems to be a pretty big flaw in the system. Alright, Publicis and Coca-Cola. The TLDR is that Publicis has won Coca-Cola's media business in the US and Canada. Given the way Publicis has become an absolute powerhouse when it comes to media buying, particularly performance media, this is not that surprising. The rest of the business, including content production, will stay with WPP and a smattering of other agencies. TikTok's April 5th deadline is ticking closer. It sounds like there are 4 contenders left with the rose, with Oracle being the primary standout. The deal is being billed as a Project Texas 2.0, but even if Oracle wins the bid to be TikTok's sole owner, that's unlikely to be enough to satisfy the law that's currently in place. That law requires that TikTok and any other apps like it have all of their operations, data, algorithms owned and operated by a US entity. We also have to consider the question of whether China will approve any deal, no matter who it's with. While everyone's maintaining their poker faces, my hypothesis is that there are still several players who have some pretty powerful cards to play. Regardless, I think we're all going to be a little bit surprised at the final outcome. Before we go, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at NBC who locked in a mega contract with the International Olympic Committee. The Summer 2024 Olympic Games are one of my favorite case studies to refer back to when it comes to thinking about what the future of media strategy and execution will look like.